Hello there again, everyone. I'm Drew Badger, co-founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and in today's video lesson, which will probably become the first podcast for English Anyone also, I'm excited about that, trying to figure out how to make that happen. This is a response video answering a question by a fellow language learner who wanted to know how I study Japanese. There are also some more students and fellow learners on Facebook that were interested, so here is my video answering a lot of questions about myself as a language learner, but also some more good tips for you if you're learning Japanese or if you're just studying English. When I first started learning languages, maybe back in high school and in college, I hated it. I really hated having to learn languages. And I learned something very important about having to do that when I was learning. So I tried to learn a little bit of French in high school, and basically I sat in the front of the class and pretended to yawn like this, to make the teacher yawn and kind of waste class time. I would also go back to the back of the class and set the clock at the back of the room about 5 minutes faster. However, I could make it go a little bit faster. But I hated learning back in school because I had to learn it, not because I wanted to. The same thing happened in college. I was trying to learn Spanish. I took Spanish for 1 year, and I had more fun just trying to copy friends of mine. My Spanish is really bad right now, but I'd still love to practice it again. So hopefully I will be able to get back to that in the future. But the important thing that I discovered about learning languages is that you have to have a really strong motivation. If you are trying to learn a language, or if you are a parent or teacher trying to get your own students to learn the language, it's really difficult if they don't have their own motivation. So one of the things I've discovered, and even not just as a language learner, but as a student of any kind, if you have a particular goal and that goal is strong enough, then it will help you kind of pull you to wherever it is you want to go. When I was younger, I was a horrible reader. I was very slow at reading, and I hated reading. But it wasn't until maybe I was a junior high school student that I actually got interested in some Eastern philosophy through some comic books. And it was something that I was really interested in learning about, but the only way I could get that information was through reading. I couldn't really ask lots of people around me because they didn't know. So the only thing I could do in order to reach that information was to ask through a book. I had to learn from the people teaching me in the book. But because I started reading more, I got more interested in the Eastern philosophy and other philosophy, and ended up studying that in college. And I really enjoyed now being able to read all kinds of different things. And I really enjoyed reading a lot more. As a tip for teachers, you'll notice that a lot of students, they say they like learning English or they don't like learning English. And really, they don't know whether they like it or not. They're just telling you whether or not the lesson is fun or it isn't. Most young students, especially if you're maybe junior high school or below, you don't really have your own idea about what language learning is, because you're learning your own language just fine, but having to learn a new language is a lot more difficult. So if the language learning situation isn't very fun, then they decide for themselves that it's not. So make sure it's fun so that you don't have students in your class sitting there yawning. Did you yawn? I bet you yawned right there. Did I get you? All right. Anyway, well, let's continue. So about learning Japanese. I've been interested in Japanese culture for many, many years, and maybe it was from some of the movies I watched, but there is a Japanese garden in Chicago where I grew up, behind a museum on the south side of Chicago, and there I discovered a Japanese garden. It's called Osaka Garden. Now, it's not that nice of a garden, but the atmosphere was so different than any kind of Western garden I'd normally been to. And so I wanted to learn more about the language, and I couldn't find out so much from other people because I didn't really know anyone that knew a lot about Japanese. So from the little I got from movies, it got me interested in wanting to learn more about it. as I was getting older, I really wanted to come to Japan to study Japanese gardening, and that's what I did. So I came here, and I am still here today, even though I have been there. I've been here and I've gone back to America. I've lived in both places since graduating college, but the Japanese gardening was really what pulled me to Japan, and that's how I was able to get involved in the language. Motivation is really important, and I think maybe the second most important thing you need to have when learning a language is deciding what kind of language you want to speak. Really, if you make a specific goal about what kind of speaker you want to be, then the goal of becoming or reaching that fluent speaker or being able to pass that test becomes a lot easier to attain. A lot of students have a kind of vague goal about what they would like to do. Maybe speaking English would be fun, or obviously they could meet more people if they speak, but it's not so much about figuring out the kind of goal you want to get from the language. It's more the kind of speaker you want to be. Do you want to be someone that can speak fluently, or do you want to be someone that can pass a test? There are lots of different kinds of speakers you can become, but really you should be honest with yourself about what you want. If you just need to learn something fast to pass a test, then get a grammar book that has examples of the grammar that you will find in that test, and then study for that. But if you want to be a fluent speaker, then obviously you have to speak. This is something I've been working on because maybe I don't know as many kanji as I should, or I don't speak as politely as I should, but I didn't really want that. I didn't want those things yet. In the future, I'd love to have more time to practice and learn more kanji just because it's fun and interesting, and I can read more signs and figure out what I should eat or what I should not eat. But all of these things that I'm doing right now about learning Japanese is because I want to be a certain kind of speaker of Japanese. I want to have great conversations, and I'm able to do that for most topics and in most situations. I can meet new people, introduce myself, I can talk about education, I can talk about the weather, I can talk about sports, I can talk about ninjas or whatever. And all of these things are what I wanted to do. What you'll often hear from other people that are learning are, well, you should be studying this way, or you should be learning this kanji or that phrase or something like that. Don't listen to the shoulds. You decide what you need to learn, just like I decided that I needed to learn just this one thing or that one thing, and I created my own curriculum. So you need to create your own curriculum about learning so you can learn the language as best for you as you can. Before I came to Japan, I had only studied a little bit of Japanese. I had taken a textbook from a friend of mine, and I was able to teach myself hiragana and katakana. These are two of the Japanese written languages, and I was also studying a little bit of kanji. These are the main Chinese borrowed characters that the Japanese language uses. I was able to teach these to myself using mnemonics. And I highly recommend that anybody who is studying Japanese for the first time, because there is so much to learn for Japanese as far as learning to read and write the language, that you really want to take a holistic approach to learning. And if you can, I will talk just a little bit right now about how to learn as many kanji as you can very, very quickly and very, very easily. But it has to do with mnemonics. And this is something that I teach regularly to English students, and this is actually part of our Power Learning program. If you subscribe to our Power Learning program, which you can do right here on our YouTube channel, you can go to our channel and it has a subscription button for Power Learning and Power Teaching if you are a teacher, but you can subscribe for free right there, and you will start on our 7-day email video course, our brand new email video course. And one of the things that we teach in this video course is all about mnemonic learning. A mnemonic is how you can take something you already know and connect it with something new. Most of the time in school, if you are learning Japanese, you will see kakikukeko, darirurero, tachitsute to, and you have these different letters just like you would learn the alphabet, but you repeat them over and over again. We call this rote learning. It's pretty boring and you're not going to get excited to study. And because it takes so long to learn, the distance from where you are now to the speaking ability you want in the future seems much farther away. But if you use mnemonics, it's instant learning. You can connect what you already know to what you want to learn really easily. So I did that using a mnemonic textbook that I had, which is what many foreigners do. A great book I recommend is Kanji Pict-O-Graphix. If you're a visual kind of learner and you like to look at pictures and try to figure out the kind of original pictogram that the Chinese characters are coming from, it's a really simple way to help your mind understand the picture. But the best book, in my opinion, is Heisig's Remembering the Kanji. If you are studying Japanese and you want a really excellent book that will help you learn all of the kanji that you need to learn in order to get by and be able to do really well on tests and understand lots of kanji together, Heisig's Remembering the Kanji is an excellent book. Both Kanji Pict-O-Graphix and Heisig's Remembering the Kanji, I link to them right below this video, so you can click on those to learn more about those books below this video. Heisig's book is so amazing because he takes the idea that you can't learn kanji the traditional way that it's taught here in Japanese schools. It doesn't help you to learn a few kanji that you can't use to understand a newspaper or anything like that. You don't want to take 12 years to learn the language. You want to learn everything as fast as possible. So what you want to do is change the way you think about learning so that you can learn everything together, even though it takes a little bit longer, but you can learn way more than if you were just studying for learning kanji in the typical way that Japanese students learn. So I've studied with Heisig's book. I really highly recommend it, and even though my kanji is not perfect, I've learned to understand so many kanji by connecting them with interesting stories. This is the same way I teach a lot of my private students, and also my book, Shabari Sensei's Alphabet. I've done the exact same thing. I've linked to that below this video as well. I've done the exact same thing for Japanese students that are learning the English alphabet. So as far as me learning to speak Japanese in my day-to-day, I watch quite a bit of television when I can. I'm spending a lot of time working on the computer and making more videos like this so that you can learn English and have some more fun listening to my pronunciation. But also, when I watch TV, I spend a lot of time listening to the commercials and trying to say them over and over again. I'll notice that I will hear the same sounds, and usually the first time I watch a commercial, I don't understand everything I hear. But because they come back over and over again, I get really excited to listen because I always understand a little bit more. So you want to look forward to something that you're studying, actually have fun, you anticipate wanting to learn more. And then you get more excited about studying, and you can actually feel yourself learning because every time you hear the same commercial or whatever it is you're studying, then you can actually feel the increase in knowledge that you have. As you begin speaking more in Japanese, you can pay attention to the way Japanese people move. I don't actually speak Japanese the way many Japanese people do. I don't keep my upper lip still. You may notice this, or maybe you haven't noticed it, but if you watch a lot of Japanese speakers, you'll notice that the upper lip doesn't move so much when people speak. もうこれはそうね、もうあっちはね、もうそれはめっちゃ面白いですね。Now this is it's a different way of speaking, and I'm used to using my mouth more. And one of the things I tried to do when I was first learning Japanese is I tried to speak like that, to maybe watch my upper lip a little bit more when I was learning the language. But I thought about it, and really what I'm trying to learn is the language itself, and I don't need to actually speak exactly like the other speakers here. So this is the same advice that I give to students who are learning English. You don't have to even sound like me, but you have to try to figure out your own voice, figure out your own way. Another thing that's incredibly important, especially when talking about learning phrases as you learn something, is that the pronunciation of an individual word, which is what you usually find in a grammar textbook, is not going to be the same thing as what you hear in a real conversation. When I was in my Japanese junior high school for the first time, that's my first teaching experience here in Japan, I had my grammar textbook and I looked up good morning, ohayo gozaimasu, and I said that to a male teacher as he was walking by, and I said ohayo gozaimasu, and he said us. Us. That's all he said. He said us, and I looked in my book, us. There's no us in here, but that's just what he said. And the first thing that happens to a language learner, just like happened to me, is I look in the book and it's not in the book. And you think the book is more important than what people are actually saying. There's the book learning, the textbook, and then there's the real language, which is alive and changing, and even from one block or one area of a town to another area of a town, it's very different. Right now I live in Nagasaki, and the language in one part of the city is different than another, or the countryside is even crazier than that. My wife's relatives, I love them, but sometimes I don't understand a damn thing they are saying. But I'm getting better, and I'm just getting better because I want to. I have motivation, and also I want to be able to really have a good conversation with them and improve my Japanese. So it's kind of like getting into the gym. If you go hang out around people that are in country areas, we call that inaka here in Japanese. If you spend more time with different kinds of speakers, then you can kind of figure out the average of the language. But if you only spend time around one kind of speaker, then you're only going to have one kind of voice. So whether you are a Japanese learner or an English learner, you should spend a lot of time talking to different kinds of people who do different kinds of jobs, other things like that. If you like skateboarding, then go meet a sculptor. Or if you like making bread, then go meet a fireman. These are all different kinds of people that you can interact with and learn a lot more about learning languages. It's really just about connecting with people once you decide what you want. If you figure out that you want to be a certain kind of speaker, then your focus is very clear. And it doesn't matter, other people will say, don't do that or learn this thing. Nobody cares. It's all up to you. You have to decide what you want. So figure out what kind of language you want to learn, whether it's Japanese or English, and then get started learning that. For me, I've been learning Japanese for about 8 years now, and my Japanese probably could be better in some ways, but it's actually pretty good in others. I'm able to have good conversations, as I said, and I'm really enjoying getting to learn new things in Japanese now without having to ask for translations all the time. Well, if you have more questions, this is a kind of continuing thing. Again, I'll turn this into a podcast as well, so you can listen to it later. And I'll also be making more videos, so if you have more questions, and of course if you like this format, which is a little bit different, this is more just kind of talking and listening to, this is not my regular speaking voice, it's a little bit faster than my normal teaching voice or my normal teaching speed. But if you like this kind of video, let me know. Feel free to comment down below, ask me more questions, and we can continue having a conversation about this interesting topic. I love people who are trying to learn languages because it's such a tricky thing to do. There's so many different things that you can learn, and it really takes a long time. You will, as you learn more languages and you spend time learning, there will be times when you get frustrated because your language isn't perfect or you make mistakes, but know that it's okay. That's normal. You should be experiencing things like that, and there will be times when your language gets better and then worse and better and worse, but ultimately you are much better than you were when you just started. So have an excellent day. Mail me if you have any questions, or you can just comment down below. You can also get a link for the 2 books I mentioned. Again, I highly, highly recommend these if you are a learner of Japanese. Heisig's Remember the Kanji and Kanji Pict-O-Graphix. Try to learn all of the kanji you can quickly and in the right way. Connect with what you want to learn, and you'll be able to learn it much faster. You can get those down below, and also on our channel homepage, you can subscribe to Power Learning and Power Teaching, our brand new 7-day email video course. Have an excellent day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. By the way, sorry if the cicadas were a little bit loud. I'm out in the park today. It's in the middle of July. The rainy season here in Japan is basically finished, and I'll show you a cicada right now so you can see what one looks like if you've never seen a cicada before. They're incredibly loud, and I actually had to wait until right about now, it's the middle of the afternoon, in order to go out here and make this video because they're so damn loud. But here you go. I'll introduce you to one. Let's see if we can find one up in a tree over here. All right, we're gonna zoom in. Oh, there he goes. Look at that. Oh my goodness, this is a cicada. Now sometimes these things can actually get very big, if you can see it over here, but they make a lot of noise, Let's see if we can wake this guy up a little bit. Whoa. Now, one of the funny things about these guys is that if you make them angry or you scare them, they will piss on you. Let's see if we can make him. Whoa. Oh, he got a little bit. Whoa. Oh no. He looks a little bit angry. All right, we'll let him be for now. But anyway, I love these guys. They come out in the summer, and the little kids in the area love to come out and try to catch them. We'll see you later. Bye-bye, guy.